Reppin' Philly ain't a choice, it's a way of life. PhillyGoat.com is your one stop shop for Philly pride. Use the promo code Jim Montgomery for 10% off. Look fresh, stay Philly, Philly Goat. Go Birds. What's up, everyone? Welcome to this day in Philly sports history for June 17th, 2026. I'm your host, Jim Montgomery. Welcome to a Wednesday edition of the podcast. Happy hump day to everyone out there. Before we get into today's show, you got to love Cowboy fans. You have to love Cowboy fans. Quite a few on various social media platforms that I posted the clip of going through Mike Silsky's social media posts and how we should be happy for the Knicks. And I made sure I kept in there, are we supposed to feel good if and when the Cowboys finally won? I mistakenly said that it's been since 1993. Cowboy fans were quick to point out that it was in fact 1996, technically, the last time they played in a Super Bowl, but it was for the 95 season. So I apologize, Cowboy fans. I sold you short 2 years. The point remains the same, though, but I just wanted to throw that out there. But, man, they did not miss a beat. So, my apologies, Cowboy fans. My apologies. All right, let's get into the Phils. Good win over the Marlins. They took the series 8-2 last night. They'll play again today at 1 in the good old business person special. I like what Don Mattingly's doing. He's kind of looking at matchups, seeing who's available, and changing the lineup slightly. I would have had this lineup a little bit different if I was him, but it's a start. Brandon Marsh led off. Kyle Schwarber hit second. Bryce Harper hit third. I probably would have swapped Schwarber and Harper, but hey, it worked out. Marsh and Schwarber both hit homers. Alec Boehm hit a home run. Jesus Luzardo looked good. Got himself out of a couple jams that could have made this game closer. Did strike out 9, but good, solid game. Fun night at the ballpark. The broadcasters were sitting behind home plate. Always fun when they do that. Rick Tocchet stopped by, and so did Mike Gansey and Nick Nurse. Gansey, of course, Jesus Luzardo had a no-hitter going into the 5th, and Gansey quickly, no sooner did the words, the no-hitter still intact, come out of his mouth, Luzardo gave up a hit. So Gansey not off to a good start, but I like when they interact with the teams. I think it's good for the city. Obviously, all 4 teams are their own separate entities, but to have the Flyers cheering on the Phillies and Eagles and vice versa, and then the Sixers, it's just fun. Whether or not the teams are winning championships or not, that's a different issue. But everybody supporting everyone and doing that, I really like. I think it's good for the city, good for the teams. So I like when they do that. But fun game. Again, they look for the sweep today. Sweep would be nice. Heading into a series with the Mutts. Andrew Painter on the mound today, and I really do think this could be his last, or should be, his last chance to kind of stay in this rotation. I don't know who they're going to put in, but it's not been good, man. Not been good. Speaking of those Flyers, though, they made a trade as we head into the NHL draft season. And I from what I've read on this, and you know I never tried to pretend to be a hockey expert, but overall, it seems like a decent trade. They traded for Joseph Woll, a backup goalie, and Simone Benoit, a defenseman who has a little bit of chippiness. He's durable, will eat up some minutes. They got rid of Emile Andre and Sam Erison, both of who are going to be restricted free agents. So I think a good move for the Flyers. I think kind of the writing now is on the wall that they're going to give Vladar an extension and let him be, or at least have a shot to be the number 1 goalie. But good trade heading into the draft. I'm really excited for this NHL draft to see what the Flyers can do. Yesterday's trivia question, we talked Jamie Moyer, and Jamie Moyer is the career leader in home runs given up. I asked who has the most against him, and I thought this number was low, to be honest. For someone who's given up 522 home runs, I thought it was low, but I guess when you play 25 years, you really run the gamut of a ton of players. But Manny Ramirez has the most home runs off of Jamie Moore with 10. Only 10 out of the 522. So I thought that was interesting. All right, some quick housekeeping notes. Be sure to follow me on all social media platforms at Philly Jimbo. Subscribe to the YouTube channel, please. If you're going to do anything, go over to the YouTube channel, hit subscribe. Subscribe on Spotify, Apple, wherever. All of that stuff helps the algorithm as I kind of getting my bearings and trying to figure out the next direction I want to take this podcast over the next year. Probably going to be more involved in a lot of different medias, obviously, or media, not plural, media. We have the Brotherly Birds breakdown. Looking forward to that this fall with Kyle. And then, of course, the Philly Hall, likely going to try to record with Steve next week, the official podcast of the Philadelphia Sports Hall of Fame. I'm working on some side projects for the Hall of Fame, dealing with the inductees. So all of that, best way to stay in that loop is on the YouTube channel. You have links to all the different podcasts and everything. I'll be on the Clashing Conferences Champions pod tonight. I won the Fantasy Football League, and I'm pretty sure I won the March Madness pool too. I have to confirm that, but should be a good time. No idea what to expect. First time ever on the Champions pod. But again, follow me on all my social media platforms, subscribe to the YouTube channel, and continue. And I thank you for all your support. And if you're a new listener, haven't done this in a while, welcome. We are glad to have you. All right, it is Wednesday. So we're going to go into What If Wednesday. And I think yesterday we talked about the 86 NBA draft where Sixers traded Moses Malone and the number one pick and their other first round pick. And I think you have to look at this. What if they didn't do that? And I think there's three options. I think you could have done one combination of trading one or the other or keeping both. I mean, I guess if you traded Moses, you thought he was stunting Charles Barkley's growth. So you trade Moses, you still have that number one pick, and you draft Brad Daugherty. Could you compete with the Celtics and Pistons and then ultimately the Bulls? I think so. I think the Sixers would have been in that conversation because your front court would have been anchored by Charles Barkley and Brad Daugherty. Like that's in the way the NBA was back then. That's a hell of a backcourt or front court for you to have. And then you could have thrown pretty much whoever, maybe got somebody who could shoot to be the small forward. Maybe they still trade for Rick Mahorn. You have the Tri-Towers or whatever you want to call it. I certainly think it would have changed the landscape of the Eastern Conference. What if they kept Moses and traded that number one pick? They probably still would have been a playoff contender. They still would have had that 21st pick in the draft that they could have used. Do they take a guard? Some of the guys that were around there, Scott Skiles could have been a Moses or Mo Cheeks replacement. Arvydas Sabonis is an interesting name. Obviously, he didn't come over until years later, but you could have had him in your system and had the rights to him. And then the other intriguing name, could have had Dennis Rodman. Imagine Dennis Rodman and Charles Barkley on the same, because Rodman essentially probably could have played the small forward position the way he rebounded. Again, I don't think that moves the needle as much as getting Brad Daugherty, but the best case scenario would have been keeping them both. They would have had Brad Daugherty able to learn from Moses Malone, would have been able to keep Moses fresher longer. And who knows, maybe Brad Daugherty becomes Brad Daugherty, and then you're able to trade Moses Malone for a guard or a small forward or something. But man, what could have been? And again, I said it yesterday, and I'll stand by it. I don't know if the Sixers have ever fully recovered from that 86 bungling of the NBA draft. But that is What If Wednesday, brought to you by Lotwin. Get your 3D custom hype chains from Lotwin. Go to lotwin.com. Use the promo code TCCPOD to take 10% off your order. But would love to know what your thoughts are with the whole Moses Malone, Brad Daugherty thing. I make it perfectly clear that the Sixers are the one team I want to see win a title. And this is one of those things that still haunts me to this day. So 267-495-8531. That's the Back to the Future voice and text line. Call me, leave a voicemail, text me, whatever you got to do. But what are your thoughts on the 86 draft bungling that the Sixers front office did? This day in Philly sports history is proud to be a part of the Clashing Conferences Sports Fan Network, where passionate fans make powerful content. Check out theclashingconferences.com and join the squad today. All right, let's go to June 17th. First, we're going to go back to 1971. And on this day in 1971, recently drafted Mike Schmidt made his professional debut in an exhibition game against the Reading Phillies. He played shortstop for the Phillies team. Now, back in the 70s, even into the 80s, and I believe the early 90s, the Phillies and the Reading Phillies would play an exhibition game during the season with days off and things like that, and wanting the players to rest. It kind of phased out, but it was always one of those things that was a pretty cool thing, that the Reading Phillies and the regular Phillies would play each other. So Schmidt made his debut playing shortstop for the Phillies, played the whole game, hit the game-winning home run, and then from there, he stayed in Reading. Played that rest of that season for the Reading Phillies, went to AAA Eugene the next year before making his debut. But one of the cooler things in Philly sports history, the Reading Phillies and the Phillies used to play. And on this day in 1971, Mike Schmidt made his debut playing for the Phillies against the Reading Phillies, his future teammates, I guess you could say. Fast forward to 1979, and the Phillies offense was struggling to score some runs. We talked yesterday about the walk-off walk against the Reds. Well, they were back at it again the next day. The bats finally woke up for the Phils. They were tied in the bottom of the eighth at 3. And then the bats exploded for 6 runs, thanks to Bob Boone and Gary Maddox, both with 2-run doubles. Tug McGraw came in and saved it. Randy Lurch got the I guess he wouldn't have gotten the win that day. I guess Tug McGraw got the win. I guess because of the scoring. Either way, Randy Lurch pitched 8 strong innings, struck out 6 as the Phillies beat the Reds 9-3. But the bats finally woke up. Bob Boone and Gary Maddox with 2-run doubles. And then in 1992, not a good week in Philly history for the Sixers, but another Sixers franchise-altering day, hours after he was acquitted on battery and disorderly conduct charges in Milwaukee, stemming from punching a guy in the face and breaking his nose. The Sixers traded Charles Barkley to the Phoenix Suns for Jeff Hornacek, Andrew Lang, Tim Perry. It was one of those deals where the writing was on the wall. Barkley wasn't happy. He was not happy. Now, to his credit, he wasn't happy with the way the team was building around him, and rightfully so. I mean, you guys, poor guy takes so much criticism, specifically from me, but you're drafting guys like Clarence Witherspoon and not Rodney Carey. He was more recent. I picture his name or his face, but either way, they weren't putting a good team around Barkley. Charles Shackelford, that's a guy's name. When they told him we got Shaq, and Barkley got excited, and it was Charles Shackelford, Shack. But Barkley traded on this day. I remember being pissed off about it, but also at the same time understanding that they weren't going to go anywhere. And I mean, honestly, Jeff Hornacek, Andrew Lang, Tim Perry, Temple guy, wasn't their fault. But, I mean, think about what the Sixers got in return for Barkley would win the MVP the year after he got traded. So, another franchise-altering day, and it would be many, many years until Allen Iverson came before the Sixers were even remotely relevant. But those are the teams that I grew up watching. So that is why I'm so adamant on wanting to see the Sixers win. Sharon Wright was the other guy. But the Shackelford story is true. But Barkley traded on this day to the Phoenix Suns for Andrew Lang, Jeff Hornacek, and Tim Perry. I don't think any of those guys actually wanted to be here either, to be completely honest. And then we go to 2003. The Phillies announced that their new ballpark would be named Citizens Bank Park, announcing, I guess the deal was signed before that, a 25-year, $95 million deal. We're close to that 25-year mark, believe it or not. Yikes. On the field that night at the Vet across the street, Jimmy Rollins went 4 for 4 with 2 doubles and 2 RBI as the Phillies walk off the Braves 5-4 when David Bell singled in Nick Punto. But we knew the new ballpark, what its name was going to be. I still can't believe the original, like, I don't know if they re-signed it or extended it, but 25-year deal is almost up. Does that mean it's possible that it will have a new state? Like, it's one of those stadiums where you saw it in Pittsburgh with Heinz Field going to Aqua Shore. But I can't picture Citizens Bank Park being anything but Citizens Bank Park. So hopefully Citizens Bank and the Phillies can do the right thing there. And then in 2012, Phillies lose to the Blue Jays 6-2 in Toronto. Jim Thome hit a home run in the top of the second. It was his 100th career home run as a Philadelphia Philly. He became the 4th player in Major League Baseball history to hit 100 home runs with 3 different teams. He did it with the Phillies, Cleveland, as well as the White Sox. But that happened on this day in 2012. And that takes us right into today's trivia question. Since then, one other person has done it. So Jim Thome is one of 5 players to hit 100 or more home runs with 3 different teams in Major League Baseball history. Who are the other 4? Hit me up on the Back to the Future voice and text line, 267-495-8531. Get that, anything else Philly sports related off of your chest. Hit me up on the Discord. The link is in the description or any of my social media. But who are the 4 other players to hit 100 or more home runs with 3 different teams in Major League history? And that leads us into today's tournament matchup. The tournament for the greatest Philly high school hoops figure is brought to you by Beach Caddy. Go to beachcaddy.app if you're in Wildwood, Sea Isle, Avalon, Ocean City, and Stone Harbor. They take the stress out of your Jersey Shore vacation. I mean, nobody wants to move in your stuff as soon as you get down there. It's hot. Kids are cranky because they were in the car. They want to go to the beach. You just want to get a drink. Let Beach Caddy unload your car, and then they'll pack you up at the end of the week. And then, of course, best beach carts. You don't have your chairs falling off, shovels falling off, buckets. You're not going to hit a bump or drag it through the sand, get a workout in. Those nice big wheels just glide across the sand. So let Beach Caddy take the stress out of your Jersey Shore vacation. Use the promo code Jim Montgomery to take 10% off your order. Beachcaddy.app. Let Beach Caddy take the stress out of your Jersey Shore vacation. All right, yesterday's matchup was a good one. Disappointing for me because I like her on a personal level, but Gerald Henderson Jr. knocked off Valerie Still with 60% of the vote. He moves on. Like I said, we are slowly finishing out the first round. This is the final set of first round matchups. And then now that the play-ins are almost done, the real tournament will kick off on Tuesday with our second round matchups. And it's shaping up to be a doozy of a tournament for the rest of the summer. Today's going to be a good matchup. We're going to the Overbrook Regional. Winner of this gets a date with Wilt Chamberlain. But it's the 8-9 matchup. Eddie Griffin versus Donnie Carr. So let's start with Eddie Griffin. Roman Catholic, led them to back-to-back Catholic League championships. He was Parade Player of the Year, McDonald's All-American, the #1 ranked recruit in the country. One of the most exciting and best players to ever come from this area. From the, Roman Catholic, he went to Seton Hall, where he was Sporting News Freshman of the Year, and then he left, became the 7th overall pick of the Nets in the 2001 draft. He was traded to the Rockets. He did make second team all rookie, but then his demons got the better of him. Bounced around to a couple teams in the NBA before ultimately passing away in a tragic car accident. But Roman Catholics, Eddie Griffin was one of the best players to ever come out of the city to play basketball. He has taken on Donnie Carr, another Roman Catholic guy, led them to 4 straight Catholic League title games, winning 3 of them. He was 3-time All-Catholic League. He was a top 30 recruit in the nation. Dropped 34 on Kobe Bryant at the Palestra as Roman Catholic beat Lower Merion his senior year. From there, he went to LaSalle, scored over 2,000 points there. He was A-10 Rookie of the Year. He's in the Big Five in LaSalle Hall of Fame, played professionally overseas in Europe, and then is currently an assistant coach at LaSalle. But Donnie Carr versus Eddie Griffin, 2 Roman Catholic legends. Who do you got? Who moves on? Vote anywhere you can. Social media, Back to the Future voice and text line. Come to the Discord channel. There's a channel for question of the day. Go in there, vote there, vote often. But Donnie Carr versus Eddie Griffin, who moves on to face Wilt Chamberlain in the second round? On this day in 2012, Jim Thome becomes the 4th player to hit 100 home runs with 3 different teams as the Phillies lose to the Blue Jays 6-2. 2003, Citizens Bank Park gets its name, signing the Phillies, and Citizens Bank signed a 25-year, $95 million deal. Still can't believe that we're almost at the end of that. And on the field, the Phillies walk off the Braves 5-4 after a big day by Jimmy Rollins. Sixers traded Charles Barkley on this day in 1992 for a bunch of crap, but that's okay. 1979, Phillies explode for 6 runs in the bottom of the 8th to beat the Reds 9-3. And then Mike Schmidt makes his professional debut in 1971, playing for the Phillies against the Reading Phillies in an exhibition and hit the game-winning home run, a sign of things to come. Let me know your thoughts on the 86 draft. Anything else, Philly, sports, whatever. Let's have some fun here on a hump day. And again, I want to just say thank you again to the Cowboys fans for correcting me for my mistake. I always tell you, I like to make sure everything is 100% accurate. And in fact, the Cowboys did make this play in the Super Bowl in the 1996 calendar year. It was for the 1995 season, not the 93 season. My mistake, Cowboys fans. Forgive me for my mistake there. Those 2 years, I'm sure, make a hell of a difference. This has been This Day in Philly Sports History for June 17th, 2026. You can't make this stuff up. Literally can't make this stuff up. Why are you're just an Eagles hater, you're an Eagles fan hater, blah 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 blah. I'm like, okay. Like if that 2 years is gonna make or break your existence as a Cowboys fan, my apologies. Forgive me. Oh my goodness, that was so fun. Again, can't make this stuff up. The vitriol that came at me for being off by 2 years. Like, it wasn't like I said 2020 and it was 2022. We're talking the 90s, over 30 years ago. But hey, whatever's going to make you sleep better at night, Cowboys fans. Go have yourselves a hump day. And until next time, I'll see you when I see you.